Let's make a bet that there's going to be some jackass in the comment section that's going to write an entire essay trying to debunk everything that I'm saying in this video, and will also attempt to make all of you Dragon Ball fans that have common sense look stupid. But I promise you guys, what you are about to hear in today's video is the absolute epitome of Dragon Ball stupidity. And I say that with a lot of credibility, considering the fact that I've been doing this for many years. And in addition to this, this is actually something that isn't something that was recent. Yes, some people commented this on a more recent video, but I can promise you that Dragon Ball fans have come up with this weird misconception about future Goku for years, and I don't understand where this thought came from, but somehow some segment of the Dragon Ball fan base believes this nonsense, and it's my job to make a video to basically debunk everything that they're saying and to give you guys the actual legitimate facts. So all of that was just to take a minute to explain to you and give you the gravity of how dumb this actually is, because what we're about to talk about is a misconception about future Goku, and the fact that when future Goku died in the future timeline, he never actually had a body, and this is essentially made up by the Dragon Ball fan base to come up with the justification as to why future Goku just never assisted Gohan and Trunks and all of the others on Earth when he was dead, or never did anything at all. And the theory is that because Goku never had a body in the afterlife when he died in the future timeline, that's the reason why all of our characters were never assisted by Goku and any of the other dead fighters. Now, what you have to understand here, guys, is that this doesn't make sense for so many different reasons that there's so much ammo to shoot this whole notion down. It's like, where do we even begin? I mean, the easiest way to come up with this is just to simply look at what future Goku looked like in a side chapter of Dragon Ball Super. Now, of course, this is the weakest piece of evidence because some of you guys are going to say Dragon Ball Super is not canon and it was a side chapter. But the easiest way to debunk this is to just look at future Goku directly in a side chapter of Dragon Ball Super where you actually see him in the afterlife, where they were explaining what exactly future Gohan's life was like before all of the other Z fighters died, when he was, trying to work with Bulma to use the Dragon Balls before Piccolo ultimately died and the Dragon Balls turned to stone. So that's the first way to debunk this, and this directly goes into one of the earliest things that we heard about how dead bodies work in the afterlife of Dragon Ball, where essentially the wording isn't perfect, but basically Goku had a lot of great achievements and he was able to keep his body in the afterlife. But if you actually look at the manga and if you actually look at what the original Japanese anime translation was, it wasn't more so said exactly like that. What really happened is that Kami essentially prepared Goku's body for him in the afterlife. And when King Yama was looking at Goku's achievements, it just further confirmed why he was allowed to keep his body, because he wanted Goku to have a body in the afterlife so that he could go train with King Kai. Now, if we are to look at Goku's achievements in his first life, I guess you can say, and this is one of the reasons why Dragon Ball fans have this notion that in Goku's second life, he didn't do enough to have a body in the afterlife, this is completely stupid for a variety of different reasons. Because what you have to understand is that in Goku's second life, he actually did a lot more than what he did in his first life. In Goku's first life, he protected the Earth from King Piccolo, he fought against the Red Ribbon Army, and he did a lot of things to justify why he should keep his body, and obviously died ultimately fighting against Raditz. But then when you think about the scale of what Goku did the second time around, Goku fought against two much more powerful Saiyans than Raditz, who were a significantly greater intergalactic threat than the Saiyan that he had fought against before, combined with the fact that King Piccolo, who was a demon at the time before the show retconned him into being a Namekian, King Piccolo was really only threatening Earth. He wasn't really like an intergalactic threat. So Goku fought against two aliens that could cause even more harm than King Piccolo. And then after this, he goes to Planet Namek and fights against the Ginyu Force, and even though he didn't stop them completely, because it was really Vegeta that killed the majority of the Ginyu Force, and it was really just Goku that stopped Captain Ginyu when he switched his body with the frog, you have to also factor in that Goku stopped Frieza on Namek. After the battle against Frieza on planet Namek, you have to remember that in the future timeline, it was Goku that killed Frieza and King Cole, and if you don't believe me, on your screen right now, I'm actually showing you manga evidence where Trunks talks about the fact that it was actually Goku who was the one that was meant to kill Frieza and King Cole, because he actually did it in the original timeline where there was no time travelers. And it just makes logical sense. I mean, in the first timeline where there was no time travelers, who else would have killed Frieza and King Cole? And obviously this goes into Goku knowing instant transmission and all of that, and there's some inconsistencies with the writing of all of this, but the point that we're trying to get at directly is that Goku killed Frieza and King Cole in the future timeline, before he died. Goku basically fought against the Ginyu Force and did many heroic actions in his second life. Does this not justify Goku being able to keep his body in the afterlife? And then let's also bring up the whole theory about options here, because let's say Goku didn't want to have a body in the afterlife. Does that even sound realistic? Like some people bringing up points that Goku basically may have just wanted to be a soul in the afterlife and get reincarnated. You have to remember the nature of Goku's character. Goku likes to fight and train, so don't you think even in the future timeline, if Goku had an option for being able to keep his body, that he would want to stay in the afterlife and fight and train? And I understand why Dragon Ball fans are coming up with this, because let's just be honest, it's just not very good writing to understand why Goku never did anything for Gohan. And even when you look at the other Z Fighters too, who also would have kept their bodies considering what they did in their lives and considering the fact that they kept their bodies before, it doesn't make logical sense why all of these characters would have just done absolutely nothing for Gohan for all of this time. It seems completely out of their character, and the honest truth is that Toriyama wanted to write a story that Goku died in the future timeline and all of the other Z Fighters died, and wanted the story to focus on Gohan and Trunks, which ultimately gave a reason for Trunks to go back in the past. The story had to add up, and that's what Toriyama wanted to do. And in order to do that, unfortunately, he had to just write the story in a way where us as Dragon Ball fans are going to ignore the fact that all of the other dead fighters would have done nothing to help Gohan for an extended period of time. And we also have to ignore other things too, like why didn't Baba do anything? Why didn't Baba give Goku a one-day pass? All of those different reasons basically explain why in the future timeline it didn't make any logical sense, and I can understand why the Dragon Ball fans would come up with this theory to try and explain why this was never explained in the future timeline. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it doesn't make any logical sense. And it would make no sense why King Yama would say, you know what, Goku, because you died of natural causes this time around, you're not going to have a body in the afterlife. It was never said that you dying of natural causes doesn't give you a body in the next life. Goku did heroic things throughout his life that justified him keeping his body, just like the other Z Fighters who did a lot less than Goku were able to have bodies in the afterlife.